I still remember the morning Leah and I stood in our little kitchen planning what felt like the most important Christmas of our lives. After 4 years of marriage and countless disappointments, my parents had finally promised to spend the holidays with us at our home outside Boston. I should have known better. In my family, promises always came with conditions I could never quite meet. But that Christmas taught me something I wish I had learned years earlier. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you have ever felt like the second choice in your own family, this one is for you. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. Now let me take you back to where it all began. My name does not matter much, but what does matter is that I am 32 years old, work as a software engineer at a tech company in Boston, and married the most incredible woman I have ever known. Leah is 30, a nurse at our local hospital and originally from Maine. We met 6 years ago through a mutual friend at a barbecue. She was wearing this yellow sundress laughing at something someone said, and I remember thinking I had never seen anyone so effortlessly warm. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, and we have been married for 4 years now. 2 years ago, we finally saved enough to buy a small house in the suburbs of Boston. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom Cape Cod with a little backyard, but it was ours. Leah has this way of making every space feel like home. She puts fresh flowers on the kitchen table, hangs photos of us everywhere, and always has something baking in the oven on Sunday mornings. But the one thing she wanted more than anything was to feel accepted by my family, and that is where things get complicated. My parents live in Connecticut, about 2 hours south of us. My father worked as an accountant for 35 years before retiring, and my mother was a homemaker who now spends her time gardening and volunteering at church. They are not bad people. At least that is what I kept telling myself. But they have always had a favorite child, and it was never me. My sister Harper is 28. She works in fashion in New York City, lives in a trendy apartment in Manhattan, and has always been the star of our family. Growing up, I watched her receive things I had to earn. When she graduated college, my parents bought her a brand new car. When I graduated, they told me they were proud and handed me a card with $50 inside. When Harper moved to New York, they paid her rent for the first 2 years while she got established. When I moved to Boston for my job, they helped me load the moving truck and waved goodbye. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself that Harper needed more support because she was younger, because she was a girl, because she was pursuing a creative career. I made excuses for my parents because the alternative was too painful to accept. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas for the past 4 years followed the same pattern. I would call my parents in early November, hoping they would spend the holidays with Leah and me. And every year they had other plans. The first year they went on a cruise with Harper to the Caribbean. The second year they spent Christmas at Harper's apartment in New York, because as my mother put it, Harper's place was so charming, and she wanted to show them the city. The third year they went on a ski trip to Colorado with Harper because she had gotten a great deal on a cabin. Each year Leah would send thoughtful gifts to my parents. Handwritten cards, personalized ornaments, a beautiful scarf she spent weeks picking out for my mother. And each year, my parents would send a generic thank you text and nothing more. No gifts for Leah, no real acknowledgement of her efforts. Leah never complained. She would just squeeze my hand and say maybe next year. But I could see it in her eyes, that flicker of hurt she tried so hard to hide. It killed me because I knew she deserved better. Her own family in Maine treated me like a son from the moment we met. Her father taught me how to fish. Her mother always made my favorite pie when we visited, and her brother became one of my closest friends. The contrast was impossible to ignore. By the 4th year of our marriage, I had started to accept that my parents would never prioritize me. But then, in early November, everything seemed to change. The call came on a Tuesday evening. I was washing dishes while Leah folded laundry in the living room, some cooking show playing softly on the television. When I saw my mother's name on my phone, I almost did not answer. But something made me pick up. Mom sounded cheerful, almost excited. She asked about work, about Leah, made small talk for a few minutes. Then she said the words I had been waiting years to hear. "This year, your father and I want to spend Christmas with you and Leah. We will drive up on December 23rd and stay through the 26th. How does that sound?" I nearly dropped the phone. I asked her to repeat herself, certain I had misheard. She laughed and said she was serious. When I asked what changed, she explained that Harper was going to be traveling for work in Europe over the holidays, so she would not be hosting anything this year. My heart sank a little at that. So we were the backup plan because Harper was unavailable. But I pushed that thought aside. This was what I had wanted for years. I was not going to ruin it by being bitter. I walked into the living room and told Leah the news. Her face lit up, but I could see the caution in her eyes too. She had been disappointed too many times to fully trust this. "That is wonderful," she said carefully. "Did she say why the change of heart I told her about Harper being in Europe?" Leah nodded, slowly processing. Then she smiled and said, "Well, whatever the reason, let us make it special." And we did. Or at least we tried. Leah threw herself into planning with the kind of dedication she brings to everything. She created a detailed menu featuring roast beef with Yorkshire pudding, roasted vegetables, homemade rolls, and 3 different pies. She found an old family cookbook my grandmother had given my mother years ago, one that had somehow ended up in a box of things my parents gave me when I moved out. Inside, she discovered my mother's apple pie recipe handwritten on a stained index card. She practiced making it 4 times until it was perfect. I focused on the house. We bought a Christmas tree that stood 7 feet tall, the biggest one that would fit in our living room. I strung lights along the roofline, hung a wreath on the front door, and even put up those inflatable decorations in the yard that I normally find tacky. I wanted everything to be perfect. We bought gifts for my parents too. For my mother, Leah picked out a beautiful cashmere scarf in her favorite shade of blue. For my father, I found a high-end gardening tool set because he had mentioned wanting to expand his vegetable garden in the spring. We wrapped everything carefully, placed them under the tree, and waited. Leah even requested extra days off from the hospital, which was not easy during winter when everyone gets sick. But she wanted to be fully present, not exhausted from back-to-back shifts. The house smelled like cinnamon and vanilla from all her baking experiments. Christmas music played constantly. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely excited about the holidays. But about 2 weeks before Christmas, things started feeling off. I called my parents to confirm their arrival time and travel plans. My father did not answer. I tried my mother. No answer. I left voicemails and sent texts. Hours later, my mother responded with just 2 words. "Busy, will call later." That evening, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. Harper had posted a photo of herself at JFK Airport with a caption that read, "Christmas in Rome, here I come," followed by a string of Italian flag emojis and the hashtag blessed. My stomach dropped. I showed Leah. She studied the photo, her expression unreadable. "Maybe she is going alone," she said. "Your parents might still be coming." I wanted to believe that. I really did. I called my mother again the next morning. This time she answered, sounding flustered. "Oh, honey, I meant to call you back. Things have just been so hectic. I asked about Christmas, about their plans to drive up." There was a pause. A long one. "About that," she said. "We need to talk. December 20th. 5 days before Christmas. I will never forget that date. I was at work when my mother called. I stepped outside into the cold, my breath forming clouds in the frigid air, and answered. "Sweetheart." She began, her voice bright and cheerful in a way that immediately put me on edge. "I have the most wonderful news. Harper invited us to spend Christmas in Italy with her. She rented the most beautiful villa in Tuscany." Can you believe it? I stood there frozen in more ways than one. The cold seeped through my jacket, but I barely felt it. "Mom," I said slowly, "you promised you would come here. You and Dad promised." "Oh, I know," she said dismissively. "But honey, we can visit you anytime. How often do we get the chance to spend Christmas in Italy?" This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Leah has been preparing for weeks. She took time off work. We bought you gifts. We have been planning everything around your visit." My mother sighed, the kind of sigh that suggested I was being unreasonable. "Leah will understand, she is a grown woman. Besides, Harper needs us more. She is all alone out there. She is all alone because she chose to go to Italy," I said, my voice rising despite my efforts. "And what about me? Do I not need my parents?" There was silence on the other end. Then my mother spoke again, her tone shifting to something harder. "You have Leah. You have your own family now. Harper does not have anyone. We will come visit next year, I promise. This is not a big deal. Not a big deal. 4 years of being pushed aside, 4 years of broken promises, 4 years of watching my wife try so hard to be accepted by people who barely acknowledged her existence, and it was not a big deal. I hung up without saying goodbye. When Leah came home from her shift that evening, she found me sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. She did not ask what happened. She just sat down next to me and took my hand. "I already know," she said quietly. "Harper posted this morning a photo of 4 boarding passes to Rome. Your parents were tagged. 4 boarding passes. That meant they had planned this for a while. They bought tickets probably weeks ago, maybe before they even made the promise to us. The whole thing had been a lie from the start, a placeholder in case Harper's plans fell through." I told Leah everything my mother said. She listened without interrupting, her thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand. When I finished, she did not say, "I told you so," or express anger at my parents. Instead, she started crying. "I am not crying because of the food I bought or the time I took off," she said, wiping her eyes. "I am crying because they do not see you. They do not see this amazing, kind, generous man that I fell in love with. And it breaks my heart that they are missing out on knowing who you really are." Christmas Eve arrived and our house stood decorated like something out of a magazine. The tree sparkled with lights, garlands hung from the mantel, and candles flickered in every window. It should have felt magical. Instead, it felt empty. Leah insisted we still cook the dinner she had planned. So we did. We made the roast beef, the Yorkshire pudding, the vegetables, everything. We set the table for 2 instead of 4 and sat down to eat by candlelight. We tried to make conversation, tried to salvage something from the wreckage of our expectations. But the words felt hollow. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I should not have looked, but I did. It was a photo. My parents and Harper standing in front of the Colosseum, huge smiles on their faces. The caption read, "Merry Christmas from Rome. Wish you were here." No personalized message for me. No asking how I was doing. No acknowledgement that they had broken their promise just days ago. Just a generic holiday greeting attached to proof that they were exactly where they wanted to be with exactly who they wanted to be with. I turned off my phone and set it face down on the table, but Leah had already seen. She reached across and laced her fingers through mine. "We still have each other," she said. "That is enough." That night we sat by the fireplace wrapped in a blanket, not talking much, just being together. Outside, snow began to fall, coating everything in white. It should have been beautiful, but all I could think about was how I had spent 32 years trying to earn something that should have been given freely. The days after Christmas blurred together. I did not contact my parents. They did not contact me. Harper posted photo after photo from Italy, Venice, Florence, expensive dinners at candlelit restaurants. My parents appeared in many of them looking happier than I had ever seen them. I started to realize something during those quiet days. This pattern would never change unless I changed it. I could keep hoping, keep waiting, keep being disappointed, or I could finally accept the truth and stop letting it destroy me. 2 weeks into January, my phone rang. It was my father, which was unusual. He rarely called me directly. "Son," he began, his voice unusually warm. "We just got back from Italy. What a trip. You should have seen the vineyards in Tuscany." I made a non-committal sound, waiting for the real reason he called. "Anyway," he continued, "we have a bit of a situation. You know that big storm we had right before Christmas? Well, it did a number on our roof. Whole section needs to be replaced. We got quotes from a few contractors, looking at about $25,000. I waited already, knowing where this was going. "Now I know it is a lot to ask," he said, "but we talked to Harper and she said she spent everything on the Italy trip. You know how it is with creative jobs. The pay is not always steady. So we were thinking you and Leah have good, stable jobs. Maybe you could help us out." I let the silence stretch. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm. "Dad, do you remember Christmas?" He seemed caught off guard. "What about it? Do you remember that you and Mom promised to spend it with us?" He made an impatient sound. "That again. Son, that was weeks ago. We're talking about something important here. The roof needs fixing before the next storm." I took a deep breath. "You promised you would come. Then you went to Italy instead because Harper invited you. And now Harper, who organized that whole trip, will not help you with your roof. So you are calling me." Another silence. Then my father, irritation creeping into his voice. "What does one thing have to do with the other? We are your parents. We need help. That should be enough." I told him I needed to think about it and would call back. That night I told Leah everything. She listened as she always does, patient and thoughtful. When I finished, she asked me one simple question. If you help them, will anything change? I knew the answer. Nothing would change. I would write a check, and they would thank me, and then next Christmas, they would choose Harper again. And the Christmas after that, I would remain the reliable backup, the practical son who could be counted on for money, but not worth spending holidays with. Leah continued, her voice gentle. I will support whatever you decide. But I want you to know something. You deserve to be loved without conditions. You deserve parents who choose you, not because someone else is unavailable, but because they want to be with you. And if they cannot give you that, it is not your job to keep paying for their approval. She told me about her own parents. They were not wealthy, far from it. Her father worked at a lumber mill and her mother cleaned houses, but they never made her feel like she was less important than her brother. They never broke promises. They showed up every single time. I thought about that all night. The next evening, I called my parents back. Both of them got on the line. I have made my decision, I said. I am not going to help pay for the roof. My mother gasped. What? Why not? I am not doing this to punish you, I said, keeping my voice steady. But I need you to understand something. For 4 years, I have been your second choice. Every holiday, every family event, Harper comes first. I accepted it because I thought that was just how things were. But this Christmas showed me that nothing will ever change as long as I keep accepting it. My mother started crying. After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. I know, and I am grateful for that. But being my parents does not entitle you to my money, especially when you have made it clear through your actions that I am not a priority. You went to Italy knowing you had broken your promise to us. You did not call on Christmas. You did not ask how we were. The first time you reached out was when you needed something. My father cut in, his voice angry. So, that is it. You are abandoning your family over some hurt feelings. No, I said. I am not abandoning anyone. I am setting a boundary. When you are ready to treat me as an equal part of this family, when you can show up for me the way I have always shown up for you, I will be here. But I cannot keep being the backup plan who also writes checks. I hung up before they could respond. My hands were shaking, but somewhere deep in my chest, something loosened. Something that had been wound tight for years. Leah was beside me. She did not say anything at first. She just pulled me into a hug and held on. I am so proud of you, she whispered. The weeks after that phone call were strange. My parents did not reach out. Harper sent me a series of angry texts calling me selfish and ungrateful. I did not respond. Instead, Leah and I focused on our own lives. We took a weekend trip to Maine to visit her family. Her parents welcomed us with open arms, her mother making my favorite blueberry pie, even though it was not blueberry season, and she had to use frozen berries. Her father took me ice fishing, and we sat for hours in comfortable silence, not needing to fill every moment with words. At dinner that night, Leah's mother raised her glass and said, "To family, the one you are born with and the one you choose." Leah's father put his hand on my shoulder. "You are always welcome here, son, no matter what." I had to excuse myself to the bathroom because I did not want them to see me cry. Spring came slowly, the way it always does in New England. The snow-melted crocuses pushed through the thawing ground and the days grew longer. One April evening, my mother called. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. She sounded different, smaller somehow. She said she and my father had been doing a lot of thinking. She admitted they had not been fair to me. She did not make excuses, did not try to justify their behavior. She just said she was sorry and asked if we could try to start over. I told her I appreciated the apology, but words were not enough. I needed to see change through actions consistent and sustained. I was not ready to pretend everything was fine, but I was willing to leave the door open. We talked for a few more minutes, awkwardly, carefully. It was not a resolution. It was barely even a beginning. But it was something. I do not know what the future holds for my relationship with my parents. Maybe they will change. Maybe they will not. But I know this. I am not the same person I was last Christmas. That person would have swallowed his hurt, written the check, and hoped that maybe this time things would be different. Now I understand that hope without boundaries is just self-destruction in slow motion. I learned that family is not just about blood. It is about the people who choose to love you, who show up for you, who make you feel like you matter. Leah taught me that. Her family taught me that. And in a strange way, my parents taught me that too, by showing me what family should not look like. The best Christmas gift I ever received was not under any tree. It was sitting next to me on the couch that lonely Christmas Eve, holding my hand in the flickering light of a fire, reminding me that I was worthy of love. I still have the scarf we bought for my mother and the gardening tools for my father. They sit in our closet unwrapped. Maybe someday I will give them those gifts. Maybe someday we will have a real Christmas together, one built on mutual respect rather than obligation. But if that day never comes, I will be okay, because I already have everything I need. I want to thank you for staying with me through this story. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you have ever been the backup plan or the forgotten one, I want you to know that your feelings are valid. You deserve more. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop accepting less than you deserve. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who took you for granted? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss future stories. Your support means everything. Whatever you are going through, remember this. You are worthy of love that does not come with conditions. You are worthy of people who choose you first. And sometimes finding your real family means having the courage to stop chasing the approval of people who were never going to give it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.